Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whale Nerds Podcast. This is episode number 101. My name is Slater, and I'm here with Adam and Caitlin.
What's up?
Hello.
Long time no see.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, like 6 days.
Yeah, just about 4 days.
Time
Pretty long.
flies.
Anyways,
Too long.
we actually all went whale watching together for the first time since October. Did you know that?
No, because we're telling them right now.
No, but did you know that? We haven't all been together on the same boat since then.
I know, hard to believe
Yeah,
it, I guess, because we talk so much.
Someone lives in freaking the other side of the planet.
Other side. As
Too
my
good for
parents say,
California.
my dad is always like, you're always like 2,500 miles away from home. Doesn't matter which direction.
Yeah, it is just like, he's not wrong.
So.
Mm-mm.
So spoiler alert, we all were together in Maui. I mean, if you follow along with us on social media, you saw some photos and videos already. But yeah, Slater and Adam came out and watched some whales. We'll talk more about that during sightings. But real quick, just some host updates, real brief. If you follow along on our website, if you hover over the resource tab, you can find our blog on our main website, which is thewhalenerds.com. And there's been 2 new blog posts put up there since the last time we recorded. I actually did a beach cleanup with some friends and I wrote a write-up about it. So if you want to check that out, you can. For our April trips, there are seats getting booked up pretty quick. The Saturday trip only has 6 seats left. So if you're thinking about coming, especially on that Saturday date, I would book sooner than later because as we get towards the end of February, I imagine they're probably all going to be gone for Saturday, the 23rd. So book now if you're thinking about it. And we would love to see you on our spring trips in Monterey Bay, looking for killer whales and all kinds of other marine life. We do have merch for sale on our website. And I don't know if we mentioned this during episode 100, but all of our episodes from 100 onward, the video version of the episode is going to be available on our YouTube page to everybody. So previous archived episodes are exclusive for Patreon, but starting with episode 100, those are now public for video versions of the episode on our YouTube channel if you want to check it out. So
We're being more professional now. No more picking noses.
yeah, seriously. Maybe a little bit. I don't know.
I don't know.
And then just a quick reminder about Whale Tales, the conference that normally happens in Maui in person every year, hosted by Whale Trust. It is virtual again this year. It'll be March 26th and 27th. And you can register now. Some of the in-person whale watches have been going on this month. So if you are interested in joining one of those and you're in Maui, you can get more information on their website, whaletales.org. And thanks to everyone who's been listening. I mean, we say thank you at the end, but it's nice to say thank you at the beginning too, because, you know.
What if they don't make it?
What if they don't make it to the end because we just start rambling about pizza or whatever?
Or they're getting out of their car to go whale watching.
Yep, there you go. So yeah, thanks for listening and following along with us and supporting us on Patreon. And let's talk about some sightings. Did you guys go whale watching before you came to Maui?
Yeah.
Yeah, I welch every day, bro.
What, dude?
It's every day, bro.
Did you actually see whales?
Yeah. Who I am? See whales for a living.
Anyways,
Does that mean
what
I
did
go
you guys
first?
see before you left?
I think, what did I see before I left? I think before I left, I had no, that was when I got back. It's been a lot of gray whales. Well, actually, before I went to Maui, we were still doing our 4.5-hour trip. So we were going out to Santa Cruz Island and looking for gray whales on their southbound migration. And right now it's kind of a time where we see both southbound and northbounders. So the gray whales are kind of passing each other as they migrate. It's kind of funny. But we definitely had a lot of southbounders. We've had a really good amount of hump action lately too. We've been seeing those dolphins and bottlenose dolphins by the islands, but we just recently switched to our coastal trips. So now we're running 3, well, it depends, every day's different. But like today we ran 2.5 hour coastal trip for the northbound gray whales to migrate past, and it was actually a really good trip. We had it was like super chunky, super chunky. So that wasn't fun. But we
The
found
ocean
four.
was super chunky.
Yes, the ocean was super chunky. What did I say?
I don't know. You didn't clarify. I was like, what about it was chunky?
Oh, yeah, no, the ocean was super chunky. It was fun, but we had a really good group of passengers. Nobody got sick. Everybody toughed it out, and they were definitely rewarded. We had 4 northbound gray whales, which was awesome, and we had 4 feeding humpback whales. We actually got some lunge feeding, and we had a bunch of pelicans diving and common dolphins. We had probably about 1,000 common dolphins. So it was a really good trip. And this time of year in Santa Barbara is a really good time of year to get on the water because our humpbacks are just now starting to show up, and we still have northbounders going by as well, and they're just starting to show up too. And we get all of that in a 2.5 hour coastal trip. It's kind of funny whenever the humpbacks move in, just like sit coastal for a few months, and like we can get like huge aggregations like this time of year. I think in 2021 and like early March we had the big group move in, and then 2022 like late February we had the big group move in, and we saw like 20 humpbacks. So we're hoping for that big group to move in any day. But it's been really good, so super awesome.
What did you see, Slater?
Couple things.
Couple things.
Couple things here, couple things there. I don't know because I don't know. Did we talk about all of our dolphin sightings and like all the northern right whale dolphins and humpbacks?
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think so. It's
So
been a while.
A few weeks ago, we had really clear, beautiful water in Monterey, in close to the coast for all the divers and offshore. And we had big pods of white sides and northern right whale dolphins, and a lot of humpback whales and a lot of anchovies. Actually, Adam was on the boat one of the days, and we literally could see blows to the north everywhere. And we're like, oh, probably another gray whale coming down. And every single one of them ended up being a humpback whale. So that was really cool, especially for like the middle of January, end of January, to have a bunch of humpbacks. And then the day after Adam left, they all left. All the dolphins and humpbacks left. And for a few days, it was just gray whales near the point. And then it got kind of, you know what? We started having like a northwest wind. So I think that kind of pushed everything south. I don't know. Everything disappeared though. And then I think the last 2 days before Maui that I went out, it was just gray whales. There was some humpbacks actually off of Carmel that I missed. A couple of the boats were able to get to, but it was super, the easterlies were just killing me that day. And then we left and went to Maui. Oh, you know what? Actually, there are humpbacks right now. They had a group of like 5 2 days ago.
Oh, cool.
Then they canceled all the trips in Monterey yesterday due to weather. But there are some humpbacks, and then obviously gray whales. So yeah.
Right now is like gray whale crossover time in Monterey. They start going north and south right around Valentine's Day at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I feel weird about is because I'm not running trips right now. I have them all turned off.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I need to go out there just to collect balloons, because I was looking at my February, and there was days, and it was actually down in Southern California, where I had like 20 something balloons. I was looking at, or there was like just one time I had a trash bag full of like 15 balloons down there. And actually that's what we picked up. And that like, it was a clump of them. Yeah. So just, I kind of feel weird about it. I feel like I should be out there just collecting balloons instead of whale watching, but the weather, it's been kind of bumpy. So
yeah, the weather's been super messed up.
The week to 10 days after Valentine's Day is one of the worst times of year for balloons.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I feel like it was around February 20th. So basically like 10 days later, right?
Yeah.
Like less than, 6 days later. But yeah, then we went to Maui, and there really wasn't much there. Pretty lame, if I'm being honest. Like hardly any humpbacks. I guess 1 or 2 turtles. We did have a Caitlin sighting. Oh yeah, a few sharks. Pretty lame. They can hold their breath a long time, so it makes it kind of hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Or 2.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with Maui. The first day we saw you the first night, or no?
Let's
Yeah, I think
Freaking
so.
our first day there, we were sitting drinking ties on the beach watching
That was
baby
the
whales.
best.
Literally like this one baby, we could see it from the shore as we were sipping Mai Tais. This thing launched completely out of the water. It did like a porpoise. It was
Oh
like
yeah, I
literally
remember
like
that
5 or
now.
6 feet out of the water. And then the mom did it right after it.
That was where
just
Margot got the photo of the Mai Tai with the humpback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Peak
I'm not gonna
Maui.
lie. I will say there's so much action that there's almost no action. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like they're
It's
just
overwhelming.
It's overwhelming because they're everywhere, and it's like obviously they can't be right where you are, but you see breaches all over the place, and it's like
Yeah.
you really can't just drive to all the whales that are active because by the time you get there, they're gonna stop. Also, I really don't think that the whales stay active as long. At least in the few times I've been, I've never seen a whale. I have seen it breach 5 or 6 times, but I've never seen that like just like over and over and
100,
over
100.
100 in a row. And then I was saying, we were talking about it, it's like, well, it's probably because they're just on a budget. Like they don't have time to do it over and over. Maybe, I don't know. Or it's
mean, I've
hot.
seen-
It's hot. They're probably sweating.
I've seen calves get like that. They're the ones that are most likely to like get into a breaching fit. But the adults, yeah, it might only be 4 or 5 times in a row, and then they kind of calm down. Or, but I think also like, I don't know, it's all in context because like you see all those high energy behaviors with like competition groups, but they're so
Yeah.
worried about keeping pace with each other that they like don't really do anything aerial at the surface. They might pick their head up real big because they're winding up to slam it down on another whale, or like the female might be peck slapping to like, I don't know if she's like egging them on when she does that or what, but often I see the female at some point during the competition group
Slapping.
roll over and start peck slapping.
She's like, ooh, nice tail slap. Nice tail slash.
Yeah. But then I don't know if it's like I'm still here, what are you doing? Like follow me or what? But the day you guys arrived, I also saw we had a mom calf be pretty active. I was filming, or I was driving the boat while Selcat was filming, and we had a mom calf that were pretty active. The calf was breaching and the mom was like tail throwing or peck slapping. It was pretty cool because when the calf breaches while her flipper's in the air, you can really like see how big she is compared to the calf. Yeah. And then the weather kind of glassed out and it turned into like paddleboard city where we were watching the whales because they weren't very far from shore. So made for some interesting photos, but also it was like really overwhelming. There was just a lot of boat traffic around 2 very active whales. And finally we kind of like threw in the towel. We're like, we got the good footage we want, and it's really hard to manage. For me, it was hard to manage the boat traffic and like stay out of the whales' way too without adding any pressure from our presence. And so we did end up coming in. I mean, the weather was nice for another couple hours. We could have kept going around, but it was like, nah, what's the point? Like we got the footage we wanted and we're gonna just remove ourselves from the situation. So
I mean, literally, like there's so many whales there too. Like if you wanted to keep filming, like if you didn't get the shot, you could have found something else.
Yeah, we kind of like looked around and we're like, well, if there's any other whales that are being active that aren't too far away, we'll go film them. But it's the same thing. It's like as soon as a whale breaches and it's nice out, if it's like within a mile of shore, it's like all of a sudden you see all the kayakers and all the paddleboarders going for it. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with enjoying whales, you know, respectfully from a paddleboard or a kayak, but it's just like sometimes it gets really overwhelming on the weekend when it's a nice day. Yeah,
for sure.
I will say that there are so many whales to go around. So if the whale watch boats don't watch the ones that are right near the harbor, you know, or you know, that you really could, everybody could have like their own 5 whales.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's hundreds of whales.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just like we were there first, like with one other little boat and no whale watch boats really. And then all of a sudden it was like 25 paddleboarders and we were like, we gotta go. So but then we all got to go whale watching together too, which was cool.
You know what? I just remembered we saw false killer whales for about 8 seconds.
At least one. I mean, the other ones looked like bottlenose dolphins, but I think the first animal we passed was one.
Definitely.
So
that's cool.
Yeah, they're kind of tricky animals to watch in Maui.
They seem tricky in Maui.
Huh?
They seem tricky in Maui.
Yeah, I mean, they can be cool. They can do cool stuff sometimes, but a lot of times they're very spread out and they're just,
Oh,
it's kind of like Rizzo's dolphins. Like if you have a really spread out group, it's like you never really get a good look at them.
yeah. I forgot to tell you guys my friend for Cascadia said that the tagged animal in that group, and apparently overnight went to Molokai
Mm.
after we saw it. So
I mean, it's not that far away because they're on the northwest side. That's just across the channel.
but kind of cool to see that we saw him like Lahaina and then they shot across.
Yeah. So we went sunrise and sunset.
Yeah.
And sunrise trip, we had active mom calf near the mooring field. That was cool.
Yep. Super cool.
Got your whale photos with palm trees in the background.
And boats.
People's houses in the background.
Yeah. And
I know it's like all of so many breaching photos I have, they all had like sailboats in the background and stuff. So or like on mooring cans, like all the big catamarans. And so it's kind of like it doesn't bother me, but just it looks like there's a boat really close to the whale, really, when the humpback
Just a
actually
sitting
swam
boat.
past a sitting boat. That's you know. So,
and
The
I
sunset.
think what
trip
else we
was-
had that trip. We had lots of moms and babies, couple adult whales around. And then we went snorkeling off
Oh yeah.
Mala Wharf. That was
Dude,
cool.
freaking Caitlin's just like a little fishy over here. She's like, I'm gonna go check on Slater and see if he's okay. And then she's just like,
Well, you
is
guys
over there,
like
and she's like, I'm gonna go check
no,
on
I
Avalanche."
was with Caitlin and she was like, "Hey, I'll be back. I gotta find Adam and Chase and everybody." And she just went
Yeah.
zipping around.
well, you guys all
So
just like
funny.
spread out in all different directions, and I didn't know where you went. And like two
Oh, because we had the
snorkel
shark,
boats-
right?
Yeah, and like two snorkel boats dropped off their people, and I was like, oh great, like where did everybody go? And I had the car key, so if anybody wanted to get out, I like needed to know where they were.
Dude, you were just like a little fish. You're like a little eel, just like going from person to person. It's so funny.
We got super lucky the next 2 days that we went. We had just missed the boats. Like
Yeah.
one of the actually the best day I had there when Chase and I were just sitting at the cleaning station. We had 12 turtles on one of the cement, like one of the pieces of the wharf. Literally, I was like, he goes, "There's 5 here," and then I was like, "Dude, there's 7," and he's like, "There's 9," and I was like, "Dude, there's 12." It was so funny because like as we were getting closer, we were counting more.
Yeah.
But yeah, that day was really good. And then right as we were like towards the end, they dropped a group off in the water. But we had a really good looks at turtles there. It was a lot of fun.
Did you guys see sharks other than that one day?
Yeah, we saw him and I saw a shark that day.
Nice.
And it was way down on the bottom and like zipping around through all
that's usually what they do.
It was zipping around through all the like rocks and reef and all that. You know what we did have was an eel.
Oh, nice.
What kind of eel is it? It's got a bunch of dots on it.
Probably a white-mouthed moray.
Let
I
me
see those there a lot.
I saw the first day.
Yeah,
we
that's
went
it.
snorkeling, I saw a really small eel. It was like yellow and black, but it was like striped.
This is the one we saw
I have
for
to get my
sure.
fish book out.
White mouth moray, and you know what's funny is Chase and I were on our way in. I was like, there's it was out of the rocks swimming in the open sand. But like I looked up at him, then I looked down, it was gone. But then I found it again and it started weaving through rocks. But
yeah,
dude, they just out and about, huh?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I took my family snorkeling at McKenna Landing on the south shore of Maui, and that's a good spot where there's a couple white-mouthed morays that have like this one little reef area that they like. And so I was like swimming around showing them the turtles, but then on the way back in, my mom was like, whatever, I gotta go. And then my dad's like, I'll just swim in with you. And so then I was like, just hang right here for a couple minutes. I'm looking for an eel. And then we found 2 of them in the same like little patch of coral, which was cool.
You know, I bet a night dive on that wharf would be cool.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I feel like there might be more stuff to come out at night.
They do night dives there. I don't know the details, but if it's just a lot of people get together and do it themselves, or if there is actual tour, but
oh yeah, I bet they run one for sure.
Definitely a cool spot. It's an old broken down pier that's partially submerged, and pretty neat.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
see
yeah, yeah, yeah.
white tip reef sharks there a lot, and actually during COVID, there were barracudas there almost every time I snorkeled there. Just I think because there was less people in the water. So that was pretty cool. And then our sunset trip,
It was
awesome light. Man, the
Perfect
sky was
light.
like pink, orange. It was beautiful.
Cotton candy.
And then we had brief look at I think it was one false killer whale, but then there definitely was some bottlenose dolphins too, and lots of humpback whales. And
Kaylin,
What?
are the sunsets at Matlaya, like, do you actually get them because you're further south of Lanai? Or does it still get blocked?
yeah, so like the angle changes where you can actually see it go all the way below the horizon if you're far enough out.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what because I remember going on the what's called cruise.
Oh, the celestial cruise. Yeah, so if you go out of Matalaya and just like head either straight out in the channel or towards the south shore of Maui, you can actually see the sunset like past Lanai. So
Mhm.
like it's out
Mhm.
more in between Kaho'olawe and Lanai, so it's easier to watch the whole thing go down. But I
Such
like
a
it when it goes behind the cloud too, because it's like nice light scattering and stuff sometimes also. But then also like if there's a little bit of cloud cover on the West Maui Mountains or on Kaho'olawe, like that's prime. Like the clouds turn pink and it's really pretty.
Even that trip, just like the clouds were just so beautiful. Like the entire trip, the clouds were just so nice. And then that trip, it was just like crazy with the cotton candy skies, and that mom did that one huge breach.
Yeah. Like there's this we took up most of the boat on like an open party boat in the evening, but there was a couple from somewhere in the Midwest,
Like Michigan or something.
Michigan, I think. And the lady just like happened to have her cell phone up and she like clicked it right as the whale breached, and she got this awesome picture on her
I didn't
phone.
see.
Dude, I'm
Dude.
telling you, it's better than I'm not saying it's better than anyone's photo, but it looked better than everyone's photo.
Yeah, she's like, I got it. She's like so proud of herself, just like so innocent. I was
Like, don't get me
wow,
wrong.
that's actually a really good photo.
Don't get me wrong. You can't like really print it, or you could, I guess, but it's, you know what I mean? It's not like
Yeah.
it doesn't have
It's
the,
not like the R5, but it's still, I mean,
It was
honestly,
it was
I
one of
don't
the
even
best
think the
cell phone
R5
photos
could
I've ever
make,
seen.
I don't think it could have made it look how, like, iPhones just make photos look good sometimes.
Yeah, the exposure
I just
was
don't
like
understand,
perfect.
like how.
I
I
don't
know
know,
why-
she just like went
I
for
feel like, I
it.
feel like a loser.
I know. Why can't you just set your, like, I don't know, R5 to 2.8 and like just shoot whatever? I don't know. It's so weird, dude. I don't know what.
But it's just funny. It's like, I don't know. I don't understand how this lady's picture on a phone is better than my freaking $5,000 camera. Like, why?
It's
do
not
I
that
even
it-
have this?
It's not that it was better. It's just that you were like, it was tight. I don't know how to explain it. It just looks good.
It was like perfectly in frame.
Had like water, whale, sunset.
Mine
Like,
was perfectly in frame.
it was just
I was
yeah,
so.
she
I
just
was
like
so-
tilted
I
her
was so
screen
proud of
towards
mine.
us, and I was like, wow, that was
see,
really
I'll tell you
good.
why. It's because yours looked like realistic and actually like was real probably, and hers just like artificially makes everything perfect.
I
his
guess.
cell
I don't know. I
phone.
was super proud of mine. Then everybody was like, "Oh, this lady got the best picture ever." I didn't want to look at it.
Yeah, she just
No, it was
like,
good.
looked over her shoulder as she tilted her screen.
got
and I was
one.
like, oh man.
I literally,
It has two people in it.
mine has 2 people in it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was back at like 100, I guess, or I don't even know. They're literally the whales in the middle, and there's 2 people on each side. I haven't even looked at the photo.
Mine was at 100 millimeters.
Yeah, I was out in the back right corner of the boat though, so I was shooting past everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a little bit of someone's head in there, but
My
I
camera was
able
in
to
my
crop
bag.
foot out.
I was like done. The light was like too dark, really.
It was getting really dark at
Yeah,
that point.
Adam said
Yeah,
his ISO was at 2000, right?
Yeah, my ISO is 2000 and my shutter speed is at 1/2000. So
Yeah, I was just like, I same with me too. And I was like, I'm good. And then I was like, and then Chase every 3 seconds kept saying it's gonna breach. That definitely that dive was a breach. And I was like, oh shit. So I got it back out, and sure enough, it finally eventually did.
Chase is funny, man.
Oh
dude,
yeah,
Chase is awesome.
we'll have to have him on the podcast soon.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely seen a lot. I would say
Oh
more
my
than
God.
probably all of us, honestly. He's been
so funny.
everywhere.
Pointing out whales left and right, and the captain's like, okay, we're not going over there. He's like, oh, there's a breacher over there. There's a breacher over there.
He was like, I just have to tell you. He's like, I don't want you to
He's
go
Like
there.
it's part
but-
of my process.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to do anything with the information I'm giving you. I just have to tell you.
He's like,
Yeah.
that's just the way my brain works. I'm the same way.
Oh man. Have you
Hard
guys
to
been
not call out a breach, when they're happening
Whoa.
everywhere.
Dude, I'll know. I always, every time I see a breach, I just, what instantly pops in my head later?
What?
Breacher!
I know. We should just invite Chris out on the boat sometimes. Just for
It
that.
So, my memory is just visceral, like so loud, it makes you jump every time you think of that because you're like right next to a person screaming at the top of their lungs. Have you've been whale watching since Maui, Adam? Have you, Slater?
No, I stayed an extra day in Southern California before driving. We just stayed for the Super Bowl. And then I got back yesterday, so no, I have not. Oh, it was bad weather last 2 days.
Yeah. Adam, did
Yeah,
you
the
see
weather's been
anything?
cranking. Yeah, I said we had.
He talked about it today.
Oh yeah. I saw some weird stuff yesterday.
Oh, you know what? You gotta censor that.
Yeah, I did on my Instagram.
I saw.
I went out driving for Salket to film again yesterday, and we had a competition group that was pretty cool to see. It was beautiful, glassy calm. There were no boats around us. And then the research vessel Kohala came up to us, so we chit chatted with them for a few minutes just to see if we could help each other out with what we each were looking for. And then we turned the comp group over to them, and they actually put some tags on some of the whales in the group, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
And then we found this group of 2 humpbacks. We were looking for moms and calves, but we found these 2 adults that we were like, I don't really know what's going on here. And then Selkat's like, is that a shark? And I was like, no, it's a dolphin. So this bottlenose dolphin swam over to these 2 whales, and they kind of disappeared, and one of them breached, and it was definitely a male because there was no question about his anatomy. It's like,
Whale
I said something
fluffers,
as
dude.
it breached. I was like, dude, what's going on there? Is that a male whale? And Selkat's like, what are you talking about? And she's looking through the lens, and she's like, I didn't see anything. And I was like, dude, look at your picture.
Oh yeah, it would be so hard to notice that. And maybe I don't know. It depends because there's a lot of splashing going up in that photo.
Yeah.
That I saw.
Yeah, there's a lot of whitewater. But I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Something looks a little weird there. So then after those whales breached, the dolphin was like kind of intermixed with the 2 of them. And the 2 whales started like circling and trumpeting and like just being really weird. And I was like, I think they're mating. But I would have been perfect to have like a drone over them. But that's just such like a tough topic with Hawaiian humpbacks and stuff that it's just like, I guess we'll never know unless a researcher
No.
puts a drone over them when they're being that weird.
That's what's so funny to me. It's like, okay, yeah, we've never seen a birth, right? And we really haven't seen humpbacks mating. At least I don't think I've heard about it really. And it's like, think about how many opportunities are missed.
Yeah.
I'm saying,
Well, and
yeah. I
I
don't know.
radioed Kohala because I know they have a drone and they have a permit. And I was like, I don't know if this is of interest to you, but these whales are being pretty weird. And I don't know if they're mating or what, but they're in an interesting association with a bottlenose dolphin. They're like, and then I looked back at them and like literally the person has the pole in their hand to like tag the whale. And they're like, sorry, we're a little hung up at the moment.
Sorry, we just tagged that whale.
And then we continued on and we looked at lots of moms and calves, but we found this mom calf escort group. And like the rule of thumb is that escorts are like almost always a male, but this was a juvenile female that was escorting a mom and calf because she a couple times rolled over and was like tail slapping, and we could see the hemispherical lobe on her tail stalk. And so I was like, that's a little weird. So she was like rolling around, peck slapping, tail slapping with this mom calf for like 20-25 minutes. And then she like just all of a sudden there was a bunch of adults getting ready to form a comp group behind them. And she just like beelined it and took off. But
Weird.
I don't know if she ever got in the mix. We saw her going towards a group of adults, but I never could confirm if she got in the mix with them. I don't know what happened.
So would you say how do you feel about the whale watching the year? Pretty similar to every year that you've been there?
Like the amount of boats or like
Yeah,
the
no, like
quality of
sighting
trips,
wise and yeah, quality of trips.
I think it's been pretty consistent as the last 2 seasons, at least. Plenty of whales around. Timing wise, about the same. Yeah.
Seemed like a lot of friendly encounters like just a week before we got there, but you don't know how many people are posting.
And just the week left.
Yeah, but you don't know how many people are posting them like a couple days
Later.
late too, right? Like that could have, yeah.
Well, and I mean, this is a point of critique, which maybe some whale watch people in the Hawaiian Islands won't agree with me on, but anytime a whale is within 100 yards of the boat, they call it a friendly encounter or a mugging, even if it's just a close pass for like one surfacing, which I don't agree with that terminology. Like determining that encounter as a friendly encounter may have just been happenstance, may have just been like the drift of the boat and the drift of the whale. Like you may have just been in its path of something else. Like I would only use that terminology for like a definite investigating, looking at the boat, friendly encounter, not just
because it's like you get a lot of close passes there, right? So
yeah, because there's whales everywhere.
Yeah, so it's like
but I know some places, like I've heard this from multiple boats, multiple companies, multiple naturalists, like anytime they're within 100 yards, oh, we're getting mugged, and it's like
nah. We're Californian people. It only happens every once in a while. So
I mean, there's definitely a lot of friendly encounters here, right? Like the whales are very flirty, they're very social.
Yeah,
like
sure,
there's just a lot of whales around, but
here it's like we have a mugging, we have a mugging.
We have a mugging, we're getting mugged. Hands up, you know what I'm saying? Cameras up, we're crying.
So yeah, so that's my 2 cents. But interesting stuff going out on the water.
Yeah,
been good.
It's been good.
Are we ready to continue
dive into science?
Our climate news, science.
Climate.
I say we just cancel the podcast, dude. It's just all negative climate stuff.
Yeah.
I'm ready to learn.
Okay.
Hold on, dude. Let me get my notebook out.
Ready.
My notebook.
Let me get my tears ready.
So this episode, I wanted to kind of put together a bunch of articles that were put out by phys.org, and they had done like a series on Arctic field work. I think it's all Arctic based. Yes, Arctic field work. Over the course of July to the end of 2021, they were featuring different projects, and I think it was kind of a good theme to pull together, that, you know, the ocean is meant to have ice in it, and when it doesn't, things start to get weird. So the first article is from July of 2021 on phys.org. High concentrations of forever chemicals are being released from ice melt into the Arctic Ocean. So this is featuring work about researchers from Lancaster University who have been studying sea ice and have found that as it melts, it releases high concentrations of forever chemicals. The study site was Arctic ice flows and then they used the North Sea as like a comparison body of water that's not too far away. And they found that the seawater that was right next to melting ice had concentrations of PFAs that are twice as high as the normal surface water in the North Sea. So PFAs are, I'm going to try really hard to say this right, perfluoroalkyloxy alkanes. They're chemicals that have a wide variety of uses, including processing aids in the manufacture of fluoropolymers like Teflon, stain and water repellents in food packaging, textiles, clothing, and it's also used in firefighting foams. So some of these are really practical or necessary uses, but the chemicals actually move through the atmosphere, and then the ocean stores them as part of the water cycle. As like it rains or snows and forms ice pack, then it like gets buried in these layers of the ice. And it's sort of,
when that melts.
Yeah, it's sort of a good thing, I guess, because it is temporarily removed from the environment. But when the ice melts, then it all comes flooding back out at the same time, not at the same rate that it's normally circulating in the atmosphere. So it's concentrating it in the ice, and then it releases it at a much higher concentration, which is not good.
Yeah.
So thinking about like sea ice layers and how like you can actually study ice, this is not a new idea, right? So part of how you age how long a glacier or like a iceberg or whatever has been out and about, you take a core of it, right? Like you can look at the layers year to year, and the signatures, there's chemical signatures in the ice. So most of the chemicals that they have put in this PFA category are really stable, but also very mobile in the environment. So they bioaccumulate in the food chain, because these chemicals can bind to proteins, and they can also cause liver damage. They can inhibit fetal development and all kinds of other issues in animals. And the habitat underneath sea ice is really important for the environment because it's the base of the Arctic food web. So like there's algae that grows under there, then there's things that come in and eat the algae, and then that cascades up the food chain. And that's also unfortunately where these chemical concentrations are the highest. So just another kind of consequence of global temperatures rising, and just seeing how complex things really are related in the ocean. And it's like adding insult to injury, I feel like.
Scary.
So I'm sorry to say it doesn't really get much more uplifting from here.
Yeah, I seen the walrus. Nothing good has come from seeing walruses.
Yeah, honestly.
Like,
so, do whatever you need to do to get to your happy place, because we got a couple more articles to talk about briefly.
I'm not listening, Caitlin.
Wow, that's hurtful.
Well, don't hurt the
Well,
walrus.
You're like, welcome to
talk
the
about
Sad
happy
Stuff
things.
podcast. Okay, so the next one is female and young walrushes depend on disappearing Arctic sea ice for food sources. This is from
Writes down
phys.org
about like 8 different species.
in August of 2021. And this was a study mostly done in the Chukchi Sea. And it was sort of this like multi-layered study. So they were studying ice algae and phytoplankton as a way to monitor ecosystem responses to loss of sea ice. There are biomarkers in the algae they were studying that can be detected in walruses and other organisms, and that helps show how the food web is connected and how it's changing based on the sea ice coverage changing. So when the ice algae blooms, it leads to a pulse in high quality food on the sea floor, actually. So in clams and other benthic food sources, and walruses, one of their primary food sources is actually clams. So they use those big tusks, they dig in the mud and silt, and they make the clams come up out of the sediment, and then they eat those. The lack of sea ice is leading to walruses coming to shore further away from their most abundant food sources and giving them less places to haul out and rest. So like the way the ice would cover the continental shelf and like different sea habitats would provide them access closer to where the clams are more abundant, and it would give them more opportunities to like lay and rest on ice instead of having to try and find a place on land. So when there are more walruses in one area, it can be more stressful because they're all competing for less resources. They're much more piled up on top of each other. The possibility of like disease spread is much higher because there's more animals per square foot, or however you want to measure it. And some of the data that they gathered from this study, especially about females and young walruses, was a little bit unexpected to the scientists, but when they checked in with local indigenous hunters and like kind of ground truth their knowledge, it actually lined up with what the local people know about walrus patterns in the area. Shocker. So it seems as though the females and the young walruses actually follow the ice line as it retreats really, really closely in the springtime. And so indigenous hunters know that, and they worked with scientists to help them get their samples for this project. So when they would harvest a walrus for a subsistence hunt, they would let the scientists come in and take whatever samples they needed, and before they finished processing the animal to eat it. And this study is really just helping to paint a picture of what's going to happen as ice coverage continues to change and it shifts the food web, and walruses are just like one piece of the puzzle. And this work, especially with walruses in the Pacific, is important because they are actually being considered for endangered species listing. So right now they're not on the list, but especially in the midst of a changing ocean, that they potentially will find themselves on the endangered species list, but they are actually pretty data deficient right now. So we don't know enough about walruses to be able to give them a proper status.
Oh, they can invite me. I'll go up.
Yeah, you need somebody to help, document walruses. I'm in.
So I'll photograph each one, identify them by whiskers.
Not that big of a deal, dude. I can handle it.
So given what we know from the previous article, this melting sea ice chemical situation just like compounds the issue for walruses too. Like it's just more and more complicated.
Well, I remember when Our Planet came out, they have that scene in the end of the Frozen World episode where the walruses there's no sea ice, so they have to find land, and then when they find land, there's too many walruses to really comfortable, so they have to start climbing these massive cliffs and eventually fall off and die. And a lot of the scientists and researchers and filmmakers saying like climate change is very hard to like physically see a change in an outcome. Like obviously we can see a depletion in ice, we can see glaciers retreat and stuff, but like this was like the first like physical detriment to a species. So like you can see like there's no ice, these horses are going to land, they're having to climb cliffs, and they're literally killing themselves because they need out and there's nowhere for them to do it. So I mean it's a freaking gut wrencher, and every time I watch the episode, it's very hard for me to watch that end scene. But if you guys really want to like be impacted by the climate change issue with walruses, like go to Netflix, go to Our Planet, Frozen Worlds, and go to the end sequence. It's tough.
Maybe don't skip to the end sequence. Maybe watch
watch the whole
thing. But I'm just saying, like,
ready.
they do have a behind the scenes portion of this segment as well, and it's tough to watch. But if you want to feel inspired by horrible things, go watch that.
If you need that kind of motivation.
Exactly. If you need that kind of motivation, yeah, go ahead. Check that out.
So this is sort of in the same vein, I think, as Frozen World. This next part is about polar bears, which is also quite sad. Okay. Slater's like, I can't.
Well, it's just like, I think the Arctic is definitely like my favorite place. And it's like everything that's up there is just not doing well. Yeah. And it's going to be I feel like they're going to be the first to not do well.
Well, yeah, their environment is changing at like at least twice the rate as lower latitudes.
Rate,
yeah. Well, when it's usually -20 and all of a sudden it's Maui.
You're like, dude, this ain't right. Yeah. So this one is melting sea ice forces polar bears to travel further for food. This article is also from phys.org in December of 2021. So this is a sort of a old data set compared to a new data set about the movements of female polar bears, and the entire time span they're evaluating is 1986 to 2016 in the Beaufort Sea area. And they sort of broke it out into like 1986 to 1999 and then 1999 to 2016. So in the later data set from 1999 to 2016, they found that the bears increased their range by 64% in attempt to find sufficient food. And I think a lot of this is coming from radio collar data. And because they're having to cover 64% more area to find enough food to meet their energy demands, it's actually leading to a decline in polar bear population overall by 30%. So the bears are spending more energy trying to just get by, and they're not succeeding. And so they've lost about 30% of their population from 1999 to 2016. The extra energy they spend to find food is really harmful for bears, especially if they don't find what they're looking for, right? So they spend all this extra time searching and there's no payoff. And the main driver of all of this issue is global climate change and the lack of sea ice. So polar bears are pretty dependent on ice coverage for a couple of reasons. The seals that they normally eat in the springtime are being displaced by the lack of ice because the seals also depend on the ice. And this is causing the bears to move further and further north, but the seals are not increasing their range further and further north. So the bears are getting triggers from their environment to continue moving, but the seals are not matching those same cues. And so like now they're not in the same space anymore. The bears are also moving further inland to other habitats in their desperation for food. About 20% of the population has decided to move inshore, and they're eating things like berries, but also other scavenging on other types of carcasses, but unfortunately also interacting with humans by going through dumpsters and trash. And so this is creating more competition amongst the bears that are left, and that just continues to perpetuate their decline. Like you guys have seen images of like polar bears going through like landfills and like dumpsters and stuff, right? And then also like there was that image like 3 years ago of like over 100 polar bears on one bowhead whale carcass. Like that's not how the environment is supposed to look. They're not supposed to be in those big of numbers.
Yeah, 50 to 100 polar bears on one carcass.
Yeah, I mean it'd be cool to see, but like there's supposed to be enough food around that they don't concentrate like that. So their recent model work is showing that the group that's doing this study, they made a model that shows if regulations are enacted to reduce emissions of global warming greater than 2 degrees Celsius, or that's 3.6 Fahrenheit for all of us Americans who don't know how to measure temperature.
We don't know nothing.
It would drastically slow the decline of polar bears, and it would help protect their habitat in the Arctic, which then would help these animals survive. So that 2 degrees Celsius number that everybody talks about, it really is crucial to our environment, but especially to the Arctic, because if we lose ice, you can see how all these systems are starting to fall apart. You guys have it in you for one more?
It's just like,
all right, Caitlin, I'm gonna
see this one's about killer whales. Like,
Caitlin, I'll be honest.
I mean, the killer whales are.
We need to go negative, positive. I think the last 4 in a row have been negative.
We needed a positive one in the middle, is what you're saying.
Or to end on a positive note. How about new rule for the podcast, dude? We have to either end on a positive article or just retire now. I don't know what else to say.
So what you're saying is we can no longer do episodes about climate change.
Basically, we can't talk about science because it's not fun.
We just talk about like, I don't know.
Talk about our beautiful sightings.
Let's go back to those happy. Let's go talk about those happy Maui little whales again. Let's go back to that.
Oh, I can't wait for the calves to get here. I don't even want to let you go on this article, Caitlin. I'll be honest.
This one's bittersweet.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Pale. It starts with in the pale winter darkness of northern Norway.
A group of unusual predators.
One is melting Arctic ice draws killer whales further north, and this is also from phys.org, December 2021. So, as the sea ice recedes further and further north each year, killer whales in the Arctic are actually expanding their range into new waterways. And this is then putting them into the range of other species that they now have access to that they can eat, like beluga whales and certain species of seal and even bowhead whales. So animals that normally shelter in the pack ice, there's less pack ice to hide in, and now the killer whales are getting in there and finding them. So these are species that killer whales didn't normally eat before, but you know, if it's available, they're pretty ruthless. So,
what kind of killer whales are these?
Transients, bigs.
How the frick are they getting all the way up there?
There are also in the North Atlantic in Norway, close to the Arctic there's also some interesting things going on with fishermen and killer whales. So there's more interactions happening between the fishermen and the killer whales for the herring fishery. And in some ways it's like there's some interactions that are not necessarily negative, but there is a lot more pressure on how much herring is available. Like the killer whales are now getting into a range where they're eating more herring in an area they didn't necessarily used to. And so then like, do fisheries need to be adjusted to relieve the pressure on the fish? It's an interesting set of questions. And killer whales are occupying places for longer in the year because the ice is not forming in the fall to start pushing them out of the area anymore either.
Well, there's also, remember, I can't remember what documentary it was. Is the night one? What's the what is it, Slater?
At night?
It's when they film at night.
Yeah. I don't know. I've seen it a million times though.
I know, so can't think of the name. But they also had a sequence on the Norway herring killer whales and people, and like they would do their nets and stuff. So like that's another issue there.
What do we even need? How much herring do we need?
Yeah, who eats herring? Stop.
I don't know.
I guess I mean some of the island nations have I don't know. Like,
yeah. Well, it's also
I'm not
used
eating
for
herring.
bait and for aquaculture, and you know it goes
probably
into
a
other
freaking
fisheries
food,
and other
like
protein
dog food. Who
production.
knows? Bunch of
There's
things.
probably herring and ketchup, dude. You can't eat ketchup anymore.
I eat herring
know.
ketchup, dude. Are you kidding?
Ew.
No. Herring mayo, herring mustard, herring cream cheese.
What is this? Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
I
Sardine
love that
Land.
movie. It's a good movie.
This article also quotes that the Arctic is warming at 3 times the rate of the rest of the planet. So I said at least twice. This is saying 3 times the rate of the rest of the planet. So not only is the Arctic ecosystem facing the threat of chemical concentrations, lack of habitat, now there are these new predators that have access to this area too. So, so what the heck can we do about this?
Buy balloons, drink plastic water bottles, don't ride your bike, get a diesel truck. That was all a joke. Don't do
Dump
any of
all
this.
your chemicals down the drain. Don't properly dispose of them. No,
Just
okay.
squirt your sunscreen in the ocean.
Oh God.
It'll stop
bleh.
burning.
So I think, you know, we need to work towards forcing some industry changes, right? I mean, that we can recycle and make all the individual choices we want, but
it
we've
really
got to find
comes
a
at a
way to put
production
pressure
level.
on them. Like, why do we still make plastic bottles for beverages? Why?
I just saw some company that was like,
Because people are lazy as hell.
I'm pretty sure I saw some sort of company that's like, we're picking up plastic water bottles out of the ocean and then recycling them. I'm like, but we're still using the plastic water bottle again. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yep.
Just stop. Everybody get a freaking metal reusable container and use it for the rest of your life, and then
I'd rather see people buy like a 1 gallon jug and refill their water bottle than having like, you know what I mean, over the little water bottles. I'm not saying to buy one, but it's like I'd rather see that than the freaking tiny little bottles everywhere.
And it's like plastic is like, honestly, plastic is a big problem, but I think the plastic problem is not as big as these other issues. Overfishing, overpopulations, like.
I do think that plastic is an issue because it comes from fossil fuels. So emissions with fossil fuels is one part of the emissions problem and the oil and gas industry problem, but plastic is another part of it because that's where the raw materials come from. So, but yeah, conservation is tricky, but I think another thing that a lot of people don't necessarily like to hash out and talk about is you have to vote. Like if we're going to take on these big industries and we're going to make like big sweeping changes, that comes from a legal standpoint. Your local representatives have just as much to do with that as the president. So even if it's just the little city council in your town, like that's still important to the place that you live. Like, and so I think that's one thing that, you know, I don't necessarily want to get too political, quote unquote, on things, but your vote in the local elections actually matters, especially with issues like this. Like Maui County.
It's just like there's nobody that's like actively like like with politics, it's like, yes, like there's obviously a side that cares more about the environment, but there's no like politicians that are actively like, let's get rid of plastic, let's cut down our, like, you know what I'm saying? Like part of
At
their,
the end
it's
of the
part of
day,
their
it still has
MO,
to do with
but
money.
exactly. So it's just like the whole system's just corrupt and everything's just messed up, and I want to cry.
Well, but even like, I think things take a long time to see the results too. Like Maui County, there's been a plastic bag ban here for 11 years. And guess what? We still found plastic bags on the beach during our beach cleanup in January.
So that's another thing I was gonna say is like, honestly, I feel like COVID really set us back a lot with as far as reusable stuff, because everybody started just putting plastic everywhere. And it's like all these places in Monterey, Caitlin, that we're all like using paper straws, all plastic in. Like, and then
no one will
not to
refill
mention
my clean
reusable
cup
masks
at the coffee
everywhere.
shop. Yep.
I mean, not what is it? Not reusable masks are everywhere.
The disposable masks.
Disposable masks, are everywhere.
Yep.
I just don't know what to do.
Well, I think it's like climbing a mountain. You don't climb it all at once. You climb it one step at a time. And
no, but think about how many people you've like got to even think about it just by, sharing with them how beautiful the ocean is. So I think that's really the best thing, is just showing positivity.
Yeah. Well, and as painful as listening to this podcast might be, I hopefully helps paint the picture for people of how dire this situation really is. And then will help inspire people to go out and do more after they listen to this episode, because it's not all ponies and rainbows and baby whales and cute little seals. It's, we've got a real crisis on our hands in our oceans, and we've got to do what we can.
It's just like I agree with that 100%, but it's like, to a certain extent, like you were saying, like it is on the hands of these big production companies, or these big fossil companies, and it's like, how the hell do you get them to open their eyes, or like
I don't think they're gonna open their eyes. I think you have to either make what they're doing illegal, or you have to cripple what they're doing by demanding better from them as a consumer. I mean, at the end of the day, they're making money out of your wallet. So if you're not going to spend it with them till they change their ways, you got to apply enough pressure to get them to change.
Can't buy an electric truck right now.
Yeah, you know how much an electric truck's going to be though, too?
Instead
70
of costing
freaking grand.
Yeah.
Instead of more impact on buying a car, can you ride your bike, ride the bus, carpool with someone?
Not only will our rent here is already so high, and then on top of that, you'll want to be better with an electric truck, but then your electric truck will be $1,200 a month too.
Well, and is it even that much better for the environment though? I mean, it's still got
plastic. That's the problem.
Exactly. We're not even there yet with the freaking electric stuff.
So
it's the building the batteries is what's the problem is.
Yeah. What about supporting systems already in place, like public transportation?
Even then, if you get I think electric cars are the future, but the way that our systems are set up now, it's like, okay, you get your energy from the grid, and where does the grid get its energy from? Freaking fossil fuel burning. So like, what's the point?
I mean, I think it's an issue that people really need to do some soul searching on and figure out what's going to be the most eco-friendly option for them. I personally have always strived to live somewhere that I can walk or bike to work. Doesn't always work out that way, but many of the places that I've lived from college onward, I've been able to walk or bike or take the bus.
You're just better than all of us.
That's not true right now. In Maui, I have to drive 25 minutes, but that's, a choice I had to offset with, my financial situation. Is like,
that's what I'm saying. It's just like, it's so hard to live life, pay your bills, eat food, put a roof over your head, and then to think about the environment on top of that. Like, I understand how difficult it is, and I understand why people can't do that, because life is so hard regardless.
Yep.
And it's just like,
but we're gonna have no future to strive for if we don't handle this.
I don't know. It's just the circles we're going in.
So anyways,
I'm gonna throw away half the crap in my house right now.
Do it in a way that's not just gonna end up in a landfill.
Yeah, no, I always donate my clothes to like Goodwill and stuff. Not Goodwill. Goodwill's. Man.
Also,
Actually,
just
do is I give them to my. I give them.
consuming less, so you don't feel like you have to get rid of half the stuff in your house.
Well,
Like,
that's the
think
thing. It's like
about
I
what
have.
you're buying.
I'm at a point where like I've just accumulated so much crap over the years that like I just want to get rid of it and just like live a minimalist style. But then I buy more crap, and it's like, why do I do that?
Yep. Yep.
Honestly, all the crap I buy now though is camera gear and like electronics. But that also has batteries and stupid.
Anyways, Adam has some soul searching to do. It sounds
It's
like
It's all about just trying to do better.
Yeah.
Like just literally like me, I don't even know. Eating meat like not as much as we do or something. It's just better. Like I forget. I was talking to my
I
wife's
gotta try
sister.
the. I gotta
and she
try
was
plant-based chorizo at Chipotle.
my wife's sister is like vegan, but if we're at like a restaurant, it just can't be taken out, and it's like pretty much the only vegan thing. They'll be like, okay, like go ahead and leave the whatever it is.
Mhm.
Like, and so she was like, and I was like, dude, you got to realize that you're better than most people, anyways, and you're like the fact that you're vegan. The fact that you're vegan for months at a time is better than missing one time. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think it's necessary. I think you're right. You just have to try and make the changes that are available
your
to you,
lifestyle, yeah.
and each person that's going to look different. Everyone's in their own situation. But if you have the willpower or skills or whatever to pursue something to its furthest, like go ahead, do it. Like, and it could be that, hey, you're really good at writing grants, so you're going to write grants for your local nonprofit that's working on conservation. Or it could be that you like to cook at home, so you want to switch to a plant-based and locally produced diet. Like, you have the means to do that, do it.
That's what I have
like,
to start doing.
So
I have to start going to farmers markets. But I just freaking work all the time. And it's like, okay,
See,
I
I'm
get off
lucky.
work and then the freaking farmers market's closed. And it's like, all right, well,
I'm lucky
I
because
guess I'll get Chipotle.
there's tons of farmers markets here, and two, literally on my route home and pull offs on the right. You know what I mean? I could stop off at, and like that's what we were doing for a while. And then obviously you fall out of it. But like as long as you try to do it. Well, Tuesday when we lived up on Madison, we were going to the street fair on Tuesdays.
yep.
But it's nice. You just grab a little bit of asparagus, toss it in your air fryer. I just think you got to get what you need. Like I think we should be grocery shopping a little bit more, which I don't know if that's better because then you got to drive there more. But like if you waste food, like if we bring too much home and it sits there, like if you buy
That's
some
what
at
it
Trader
is.
Joe's, like if you buy the tortillas, how am I going to eat 9 tortillas in 3 days? What do you mean? How organic can it be that it goes bad in 2 days? Like it's like, oh my God, like you can't get anything because it goes bad so quickly. So it's like that's why it's almost like sometimes you just eat out. It's a tough cycle for sure.
Yeah, just you got to be mindful and really evaluate your choices. I think just being more conscientious of your choices and how it impacts the environment is a good place to start. Like just do an assessment of your weekly routine.
Yeah. And then cry at the end of it.
And then just cry. Cry it out, get ready to start over again. So I don't really know how to uplift this depressing episode.
I do.
You do?
Come whale watching with
Whales
in
with us.
April.
That's true. Come see whales with us in April. And
Unless you live on the other side of the country and you have to fly in because that burns fossil. I'm just kidding.
I mean, if you do though, think about the impact of that, and can you do something to help offset it, like clean the beach or support an organization that's doing carbon offsets, or take a new conservation action item home with you or whatever.
If Caitlin moves back to Monterey, we could carpool again.
That's true.
There was a time we were carpoolers.
Remember 5
I
a.m.
did.
carpool. Those were the
we
days.
we also, as soon as you get back to Monterey, we could do beach cleanups too again.
Yeah, maybe we should just do one.
Pretty
for
easy to do them
Whale
on
Nerds
Del
weekend in
Monte.
April.
Yeah.
Even in Moss Landing, just like after the trip one day, because that's also close to Earth Day. So for one of the days, it is Earth Day, isn't it? The first
I don't
one?
know. I think Earth Day
Friday?
was the last time we did it. Earth Day's in like February or something.
No, it's in April. It's right by my birthday.
Yeah, dude, it's like April, like it's right by all of our. I mean, me and you,
Cool.
'cause we're a
So,
tourist
anyways,
gang.
we'll get back to you about that, but we might do a beach cleanup after one. Of the
Oh,
Whale
I
Nerds
did an all-day
weekend
trip
days.
on Earth Day. That's what it was.
So.
Last year. Okay, well, see you there or see you another time.
See you later, Theodore.
If you made it this far in the episode, thank you for sticking through this hard set of topics. We really appreciate you.
You were better than us because you
And
really
we
sat
hope-
through it.
We hope you feel challenged to do more for the environment. And if you have some cool ideas that you want to send our way, we'd love to hear them. You can either direct message them to us on Facebook or Instagram at Whale Nerds, or you can email us or check out our website for more stuff we got going on too. So website's thewhalenerds.com. And thanks.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Stay positive.
Bye.
See some
Bye.
whales.
Peace.